This is Up for Debate presents The Ballad of Rocky Balboa. Tonight, episode number 180, recorded May 21st, 2020. Chapter 3, Rocky 3. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Up for Debate presents the show that takes an in-depth look at classic boxing movies, or at least the series of them. I'm Sean Jennings, joined by the man who's rocking kind of like the perfect Lego guy hair. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. It fits with our theme, right? It's kind of our little theme song from the Lego movie.
Exactly. Well,
Uh, how are you doing today, Sean?
I am Matt. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. How exciting is this? How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I think that we could probably make the argument that you could be a Lego guy as well. I'm seeing it.
I'm getting grays. I don't think you can. I don't think I'm in high enough def, but you can really see my grays as my hair grows out.
Oh yeah, I'm having that problem as well. I think that my grays are kind of more pronounced
Yes, you have very dark
because
hair.
of the dark hair. Yeah, that's an issue. It's become interesting, but
But that's Matt. That's why
I
they
don't know.
call you. That's why they call you the Italian stallion. Because you got
Oh, I
that
thought you were gonna
thick.
say the
That
silver
thick.
fox.
No, because you got that thick black Italian hair, like our pal
Yeah,
Rocky.
that's why they call it. Yeah, that's Rocky also has that the Mediterranean hair.
He had great hair in this movie. Can I just say, in Rocky 3, not that I pay attention to these things too much, but he had that perfect, like, early 80s, like, super coiffed up, kind of puffy hair that was just out of control.
He did. Yeah, that was I think even on all the promotional stuff you could see it.
Yeah, that was sort of his,
Like
like formal, like, Rocky as a spokesman hair, like Rocky in the suit hair. Um, and he looked, he looked like $1 million.
yeah. Yeah, he looked good in this one.
Matt, we've got you know, Rocky series. We've been going through these. We've already done the first two movies. We're now on to 1983's Rocky 3, the third in this franchise. Matt, you've gone on record as saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is your favorite Rocky film.
That is correct. This is my favorite. After doing a watch through, it only really confirmed that. Watching it recently for the show, this is my favorite Rocky film in the franchise.
Well, then I would say, hey, kick it off for us. Where do we want to begin on Rocky 3?
Sure. Well, why? I guess to sum it up, I think this one's my favorite because it was well, Rocky himself. He's kind of, I guess, to summarize his story up until this point, he's reached the I wouldn't say the apex of his career, but he's become a household name.
No, he's the world
He's a
champion. It
he's
doesn't get any higher than
he,
that.
that's right. He's the world champion. Um, he defeats Apollo Creed in the previous movie, securing his title. He's got fame. He's got endorsements. Everybody wants a piece of him, basically, in this movie. Everybody wants to take pictures with him and have him sign stuff and appear at charity events. And um, so you think right off the bat, you're like, well, what possibly could happen? He has really nowhere to go but down, so to speak. Um, and he can I just say that the beginning of the movie where he has to do that like wrestling event or the
Yes,
for charity
with
with
Thunder Lips.
Hulk Hogan um, in an important guest starring role there. I thought that was one of the coolest moments in not only in the movie but in the franchise. I love that scene. Um, and I just like the interactions between the two and just how theatrical Hulk Hogan is through the whole thing. Um, it's it's I think it's also kind of goes to show that Hulk Hogan, I think he wanted to, he like really wanted to be in this movie, if I remember the story correctly. But Vince McMahon said, no, you can't, like, because your character is owned by WWF, and I think he was actually fired for taking on this role, for being Thunder Lips in the movie. But I think the movie just did so well and gained such popularity that McMahon had to rehire him.
Have you ever seen Thunder in Paradise?
Are you thinking of Tropic Thunder?
No, I'm thinking of Thunder in Paradise, the early '90s cable TV show that was made by the people of Baywatch. So it was essentially a Baywatch ripoff,
Oh,
except it starred Hulk
I
Hogan.
have heard of this. Yeah, I've heard of this. I've never seen it, but yeah, it, it was kind of, did it star the people from Baywatch? Is that,
Um,
it looks very Baywatch esque,
yeah. Oh no,
kind of in the same
it's
vein.
clearly a ripoff. And it's a
Yeah.
very odd, very funny show. It only lasted one season. What's very funny to me about it was that it was shot at Walt Disney World. Like they used like the lake at Walt Disney World to shoot it. Like it didn't take place at there. It just shot there. Which to me is very odd. So anyway, I didn't mean to get on a Hulk Hogan tangent, but um,
Probably you would think it's like a safe place to shoot.
I guess Disney wanted the promotion of come see where Thunder in Paradise was filmed. I don't know.
Yeah. So that was after, that was like early 90s,
That
you
was early
said?
'90s. Yeah,
Yeah, because I think this is one of Hulk Hogan's earliest
I believe it's his
roles.
earliest.
It
Yeah,
might have been his first.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was his first. It was also the first role of not only Hulk Hogan, it was also the debut of the I guess the villain in this movie, the antagonist, Mr. T, as Clubber Lang,
Yes.
the infamous Clubber Lang. Um, Mr. T's filming debut. This Sean, Clubber Lang is, I would say, like, it's got to be like 85 to 90% of the reason that I love this movie so much. Just just love him as a villain, as an adversary to Stallone, an adversary to Rocky. I think he takes the cake in my mind. He replaces Drago. He replaces Creed. Well, Creed, it's kind of difficult because Creed I see more as like a rival
Yeah, I
of
agree.
Rocky. I think this is the first time we get like a real bad guy image on like the opponent of Rocky in this one.
Yeah, I mean, he's so clearly a bad guy, but he's a bad guy you love to hate. You know, it's like you
Yeah,
don't hate him simply because he's bad. You hate him because he's insane and he's given shit to Rocky. I think that's he brings a lot of energy and enthusiasm and makes the character less cookie cutter and more unique.
yeah. I mean, just all the things that he all the things that he says throughout this movie, just the list of the quotes, just uh, his whole persona, Clubber Lang's whole persona in this movie, it makes me think I'm watching some kind of just wrestling anime where the bad guy is so over the top and just so extra. He's almost like comically overdone, but at the same time a great adversary. You know, one of the strongest, definitely the strongest opponent that Rocky has had to fight so far.
You're talking about great Clubber Lang quotes, but when uh, this is when they're at this I believe at the statue ceremony, and he confronts Rocky. He goes, "Getting out while I can. Don't give this sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine." And then Mickey says, "Why don't you get the hell out of here?" And Clubber Lang goes, "Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere. Why don't you keep all these nice folks while you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country want to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. I don't want me to have the title because I'm not a puppet like that fool up there." I mean, just the great lines. in those nice short little sentences.
Yeah, he. I think they when they wrote Clubber Lang, it's like they took the character of Apollo Creed and made him more bitter. They added like this bitterness or this edginess to him. In the sense that Apollo Creed is, you know, fighting from obviously as a minority, fighting from a place of the underdog, as a place of overlooked by and overlooked and taken advantage of by society, and he's trying to almost regain power back for himself. Clubber Lang is like that, but times 20.
Well, I think, you know, uh, I think when any film franchise gets later and later into the later movies, they have to get crazier. It's always one-upsmanship. So Apollo Creed is good for the first movie, good enough for the second movie, but by the time you get to in the fourth movie, he fights the Soviet Union. Like, clearly they have to keep one-upping themselves. So you have to bring in a charismatic, over-the-top boxer. Like, Apollo Creed, I would believe that person would really exist in boxing in reality. Mr. T, I don't believe would ever actually exist in reality. And so I think that's where this series goes. Same with Ivan Drago, who I'm like, that's not a real guy. Now, Matt, do you know how Mr. T was cast in this role?
No. How is he cast? You mean like why they cast Mr. T?
Yes. Yeah. In 1980, Mr. T was spotted by Sylvester Stallone while he was taking part in NBC's America's Toughest Bouncer competition, a segment of NBC's Games People Play. Although his role in Rocky III was originally intended as just a few lines, Mr. T was eventually cast as Clubber Lang.
Oh, I could see that. I did not. I really didn't know that he was a bouncer. I could absolutely see that though. Bet he was one of the best bouncers there was for
Oh,
sure.
I wouldn't want to cross him.
One of the best bouncers ever. Um, yeah, talking about Clubber Lang quotes, the one that I was thinking of in my head was when he turns to Adrian uh, in before the fight, and he says, hey woman, listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you like to see a real man. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight. I'll show you a real man." And then like Rocky just goes nuts. You want it, you got it. I'll see you in the ring. That like that's the tipping point for Rocky is somebody else calling out Adrian. But we kind of talked about in the first show. Could you see Rocky saying something very similar to Adrian, like while they were courting or prior to their courtship?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
I don't know. I mean, that was kind of your characterization of Rocky as this, like, I'm going to take what I want kind of guy. And I mean, in this situation, I think Clubber Lang was more or less just doing it to taunt Rocky. But yeah, I don't know.
But it's also part of that argument throughout the entire film of, who's hungry? Who's got the most
Yeah,
hunger to them? And clearly, as you've pointed out, I mean, Clubber Lang has essentially replaced that. Is the Rocky in that role, as we saw in previous movies, where he had an appetite for victory and what he has to work towards. So it's an interesting reversal.
Is this? You could probably answer this better than I could, being a 1970s and 80s TV and movie aficionado that
Okay.
you are. Is this where the "I pity the fool" comes from? Mr. T's classic catchphrase.
Uh,
He says it once in the movie. I counted it
it
because I was
does.
waiting for it. Because in my memory, I thought he said it like a bunch of times. I thought that was like his catchphrase, but it was more from I think it was more from the TV show. It was more from the A Team that he kind of made that phrase famous.
Nope. It absolutely comes. It comes from this movie. No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool. That's what he says. Yeah.
Yes, that's the line. I was waiting for it, and I was like, there it is. He said it. Now I was wait. That was in the beginning of the movie. I was waiting for it to come up like more often, but he doesn't say it again after that.
Yep. No, I mean this is
I pity the fool.
this movie is essentially his first real acting role. You know.
Yeah. Or is that kind of like the there's a name for them, but like Beam Me Up, Scotty, or Luke, I Am Your Father, things that people misquote. They often think that they're said in movies, but they're not.
Hmm.
There's a name for him, but is that the case of this? Like, does he really only say it this one time, and then people just tag that phrase to him as like a almost
I
like a stereotype?
No, because I think what it was like, did he say it in A Team a lot? I don't know because I haven't watched a lot of A Team, but I do know he used it in commercials and he made it his. So it's not that he said it that one time in Rocky 3 and we all know it. He talked about it a lot.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just reading more Clubber Lang quotes. I'm the baddest man in the world. Rocky, you don't look so bad to me. Clubber Lang, what did you say, paper champion? I'll beat you like a dog. A dog, you fool.
But this is what I loved about Apollo Creed in the second movie is when Apollo Creed talks trash, or he even does it a little bit in the first movie. Um, I love that sort of angle of just talking smack. And I think Apollo Creed, in the first movie, they interview him as he's coming out of the airport, and he says, "Kids, stay in school, get an education." Sort of like that, like over the top boxing character. I'm such a fan of. Mr. T does it to a T, pun intended. Um, which was really. I mean, I think Mr. T was really one of the best, absolutely one of the best parts of this movie.
Indeed. By the way, when he says that paper champion in the movie, I thought he said pepper champion. So I was like, why is he calling Rocky a pepper champion? Did he like eat hot peppers or something?
I'd
What'd you
watch
say to
that.
me, paper champion? Pepper champion? It's like, what? Yeah, I definitely thought he said pepper champion.
Um, Matt, I'm looking over my notes here from the movie. I definitely loved the maybe it's a little cliche now, maybe it's not, but the turn of Apollo Creed from enemy, well, as you said, I think rival's probably a better term, to mentor and teacher, I think was really good in this movie. And I think the interplay between Rocky and Apollo is awesome. I wrote in my notes, a Rocky Apollo buddy cop series would be amazing. I thought they were
Oh yeah.
a lot of fun together.
Yeah, they've got great chemistry, the two of them. Rocky and Stallone and Chubbs.
Yes.
Great chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I didn't so much. So a big part of the movie is they go out to California. They got to go back to where it started for Apollo Creed, which I think is kind of, shouldn't Rocky go back to Philadelphia and go back to where he started? But okay. They go out to California, and then there's, as I write in my notes, Paulie being vaguely racist is annoying. Where Paulie kind of makes jokes about like jungle music and generally not talking about black people nicely, which I thought was kind of. I mean, I know it was the early '80s, but I didn't care for it.
Yeah, usually if you include a character that, I mean, especially at during such a volatile time period, if you include a character that has like these racial proclivities, I think you would want them to change by the end of the movie so that they're like less racist, or they've turned over a new leaf, or there's a new side to them. Paulie just stays racist for this whole movie. I don't think he really, he says, I don't like these people, referring directly to African Americans. Rocky says, you don't like them? Well, maybe they don't like you either, Paulie. And then Paulie says, what did I ever do to them? So I think maybe is he supposed to be like an idiot? Like, is he supposed to be like, look at
Yeah.
this dumb guy who's a racist? But even so, I think that the main thing that you're doing, if you're making a family friendly movie in 1980, you wanna have a racist character like do a 180 by the end of the movie and be like I'm not racist anymore. I've realized the error of my ways, but that just never happens.
I think if I have to purely speculate, you got to remember this movie written and Was it written and directed by Stallone or just written by? I believe, yeah, it was written and directed by Stallone. I think to me, Paulie exists to make Rocky look good because I think you put a character like that in a movie, so Rocky can be the guy who's like, racism is bad. Don't do that. Like, to make Rocky look better. Like, to me, that's. And Paulie, throughout at least the first three movies, has been a great guy for that, where it's like Paulie does the stupid thing, and Rocky's like, it's okay, I'll be the good guy, and you can be the stupid guy. And it makes Rocky look better. That's my pure speculation.
Yeah, but even Rocky is kind of nonchalant. Like even he's kind of lukewarm about. Like obviously Rocky is not a racist, but there's no point in the movie where he turns to Paulie and is like, "Your behavior is not okay."
Right.
But then again, I guess it's not really in Rocky's character to do that.
Yeah, he is a pretty chill guy.
Is it? Yeah.
I did write in my.
I just can't. I had to laugh because like it's. You imagine a part in the movie where Rocky turns to Paulie and he goes, "Paulie, my friend, your behavior is frankly unacceptable. Your racism is uncalled for and unprovoked, and I would really appreciate it if you tone it down just a little bit. Thank you."
Paulie, I understand you're a victim of several generations of racial strife in this country, but
Socioeconomic hardship.
yes, exactly. It's like, when Rocky get really smart? Must have been all those punches to
But
the
I
head.
have been doing some reading lately. Yeah. Something jostled just the right way, and now Rocky is a social justice warrior.
That is a movie I would watch. Although I did write in my notes here, cocky, confident Rocky is my favorite. When he is at the Thunderlips fight, when he's very confident, when he's sort of pre-first Clubber Lang fight and he's confident, or even the awesome montage of like proving Rocky as a celebrity now, where he's like on the covers of magazines and shooting commercials and stuff. Like, I like that Rocky. That Rocky was funny. That Rocky was appealing, and that Rocky was cool. And that was, I really did enjoy that little segment of the movie.
Yeah. Famous Rocky getting famous. Yeah, it's pretty comical. He's just got like all the attention all of a sudden, but I think he never really lets it go to his head, right? It doesn't really go to his ego. It doesn't inflate his ego. He doesn't act all like high and mighty because of it. He's still the same old Rocky, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it never gets to the point where it damages his character, because you could take a villain turn. And again, maybe I keep going back to, is this a Stallone thing where he's writing the character, he's directing the character? So is it like, at no point is Rocky the bad guy? Because it's like, oh, Rocky's fights were fixed. It's Mickey's fault. Rocky had nothing to do with it. Oh, Rocky is a cocky guy now. But he's funny about it. It's like, at no point does Rocky in this movie ever... I mean, yeah, he gets beaten by Clubber Lang, but it's like, but it's because his trainer just died. Like, you can't blame Rocky for that. It's like, at no point does Rocky do anything technically wrong, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, he just kind of is who he is, I guess, through the whole thing. You haven't met the robot yet, right?
No, I have not. That comes in the next one.
Are you familiar with that? Because whenever I think of the pinnacle of the rags to riches for Rocky, to me, is the fur coats and the robot.
I have seen the clip, and I enjoyed the sort of semi-parody in Netflix's Glow with the drug robot, which is sort of a take on that. If you've seen that,
yeah,
series.
we'll get to, I may be getting ahead of myself here, but it's that's coming up around the bend.
Oh, I'm very excited for Rocky IV. I think, one thing we should talk about in this movie, obviously, Mickey, Mick, Mighty Mick, Rocky's trainer, father figure friend, has one of those movie-style heart conditions where he aggressively clutches his chest all the time, which I've never seen someone have a heart attack. I don't think that's probably how it works. But but he gets sort of he gets pushed around a little bit. He has it, and he says, "Rocky, you got to go out and fight." And then in a like boxing sort of double punch, Rocky loses and Mickey dies dramatically. Rocky lies to him on his deathbed, and it says, Mickey said, "I knew you could do it." Were you touched by that moment, Matt?
Yeah, that is one of the sad moments for sure in watching this movie. Uh, it's it's like Yoda in Return of the Jedi. Now that a reference that you can now appreciate.
Absolutely.
The mentor, yeah, the mentor, the father figure, like you said, passing the torch. Except we don't really see obviously Burgess Meredith isn't fading into the Force. He's not becoming one with the Force like Yoda. Um, but Rocky does go and visit his gravesite later on.
Yes.
And yeah, I'd say it's a pretty gut wrenching, heart wrenching moment there.
I will keep my fingers crossed because obviously I haven't seen any of the other upcoming movies. I'm gonna hope that he returns as a ghost, a Force ghost, in an upcoming film. So fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, and he's still shouting things like "crap thunder."
Yes, exactly. But only Rocky can hear him.
Get up your bum.
Matt, other things worth discussing in this movie. You talked about your love of this movie. What did I think of this movie? I like this movie a lot. I think this movie, for me, we talked about this with Rocky 1, where I said, of everything I know of Rocky, Rocky 1 is sort of, like, doesn't feel like all the sort of stereotypes or sort of parodies of Rocky. It seems kind of more like a boring drama film. This feels like what a Rocky movie should be, where it's like 70% montages. It's a clear, over-the-top villain. It's funny in parts, action in others. To me, this is what I finally have seen a Rocky movie where I'm like, oh, that's what a Rocky movie is supposed to be. And I feel sort of very pleased by that. That this was much more up my alley than the other ones. For me, I think the pinnacle of it, I mean, there were a lot of great moments in this movie, but I genuinely think the Thunder Lips fight from start to finish, from the comedy of Rocky sort of trading funny barbs back and forth and sort of taking it jovially and, hey, we'll just go out and have a good time. Thunderlips going crazy. I thought the whole fight was shot really fun, where they're out in the crowd and things are going nuts. And then even at the end when he's talking with Thunderlips and says, and actually Hulk Hogan, very funny in that role. As this quote from Thunderlips: "To all my love slaves out there, Thunderlips is here in the flesh, baby. The ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball," he says, which is a really fantastic line. So I thought that was just a great example of just a fun moment in this movie. There were a lot of really fun moments in this movie. So I liked it. I liked it a lot.
That's good. Now I heard rumors. This all just might be complete rumors. But speaking of the Thunderlips fight, there were rumors out there that Hulk Hogan was when he first went on to become a wrestler, he was going to adopt the name Italian Stallion. Believe it or not, Hulk Hogan is, I think, at least part Italian. A lot of people don't know that. His real name is Terry Bollea.
It says on Wikipedia he is of French, Italian, Panamanian, and Scottish descent. So there's a little Italian.
Yeah.
In there.
So I think that was, I heard somewhere that that was a goal of it. Might have been a rumor. It might have been a one of those things, that stories that people tell. But thought, yeah, the Italian, he was going to adopt the name Italians, and he kind of thought it was kind of coincidental or neat in a way, and that might have been what sparked him to appear in this movie. Which, as we mentioned before, I confirmed that it did jeopardize his career in pro wrestling for a while. Vince McMahon had laid him off and hired him 2 years later, rehired him 2 years later, following the popularity of Rocky III, for appearing in the movie. I guess it violated his contract or something like that.
Yeah, past listeners of the show may remember Vince McMahon as the man who sunk the XFL twice. So
We talk about Vince McMahon a lot on this show,
it's
surprising amount.
he's a fascinating man. I mean, he's a billionaire. He's
More
a
on the more on the more on the XFL to come, Sean. I will say. Well, we could talk more about it after the show, but I don't know if you've heard the latest news about it.
It's all bad news, Matt. It's all bad news, and yeah, we
No,
may.
well, no, I don't know. Rocky
Oh,
2. This is like it's like the end of Rocky 1 where he said where Apollo in the hospital room says there's not going to be a comeback and there ain't going to be no rematch. We may be getting a rematch here, the XFL. I don't know.
Matt, if there's
It's
one
possible.
thing, if there's one thing I've learned from all of our research and everything I've read, it's that as long as they're stupid rich people, there will always be someone trying to make spring football a thing. So
There will always be XFL.
that will never end. Let's see, Matt. Do you have any other thoughts on Rocky here? I did
Come on,
write.
we can't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What did you write?
No, I was just going to say, talking about the final fight. I wrote, once again, Rocky's skill of getting hit a lot really comes in handy.
Yes.
Which is because I was finally like, these films, they have these big training montages where it's like, oh, Rocky's getting really good at boxing. And then all the fights show us is he just gets punched a lot and the other guy gets tired and then Rocky hits him hard. And like, that's every
that's
movie.
like his main strategy.
But then why
His
train
main
like
strategy
crazy?
in this one.
Then what's the point of training like crazy? Then just like stand there, it's a rope-a-dope. Just stand there and take the punches and knock the guy out. Like it's annoying to me because especially with the second Clubber Lang fight, in the first round, he's hitting him like crazy. He's punched him. He's beating him up really good. And I'm like, finally, the training comes in handy. Knock him out in the first round. I would love it. Rocky gets a real win. And then in the second round, Clubber Lang comes and starts kicking his ass again. And I'm like, no, he's just going to win because he doesn't fall down. Which I guess is the point of boxing. So what do I know?
Maybe his training montage should have featured like in Happy Gilmore, where he's standing in the the pitch machine in the batter's cage.
Yep.
And he's just letting the ball hit him really hard, like over and over again.
I think that'd be great.
That should just be his part of his training is just like leaning in and getting hit in the head with a 60-mile-per-hour fastball over and over again.
It's like a rock with a rope and a pulley, and they just keep dropping it on his head over and over. And it's like, Rocky's he's looking great. He's still kind of conscious.
Yeah. That is ultimately how he defeats Clubber Lang in the end of the movie is just by just taking a ass load of punches. And eventually Clubber Lang just gets tired and it's called the famous rope-a-dope strategy, which is a real thing in boxing.
Yes. Made famous by George Foreman in his defeat of Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. So there you go. But Sean, we can't move away from this episode without talking about one of the, or if not the most iconic thing about this movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly.
I don't think you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Probably one of my favorite things about this movie.
What are you going to say?
Matt, it's got to be the Academy Award nominated theme song to this movie, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
Oh. I thought you were going to say something completely that was not,
what you were thinking?
That was not the right answer. Yeah, but that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, it was Eye of the Tiger.
What some, aka me, would consider one of the best songs ever written. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Sean, do you like this song, Eye of the Tiger? Is it one of your favorites?
It's one of my favorites of all time. It's an absolutely incredible song. I've been a fan of this song for my entire life, and I've never seen this movie. That's how much I like this song. And frankly, Survivor, I have the best of Survivor CD. Survivor is a great band, period.
Name one other song by Survivor.
Well, the issue is I could name other Survivor songs, but I don't know if it's going to be helpful because you're not. I could just like make one up. Are you going to know any of the other Survivor songs?
Sean, I pulled up their discography. I've got them. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, but High on You, Is This Love? The Search is Over. They've had a lot of they more hits than you would realize. I think it's one of those things where if you heard it, you would say, "Oh, I didn't know they sung that."
I don't know why I'm doubting you. This is not something I would doubt Sean
Do you
Jennings
really want to
about.
challenge me on
Knowing
Survivor trivia?
80s synth pop, this is definitely not a fight that I'll win. So
No, they're
not a fight that I can rope a dope my way out of.
they're immensely talented, and like I said, it was an Academy Award nominated song in a pretty stacked year of of songs that it was competing against, including "It Might Be You," the theme from Tootsie, which is a great song, and "Being Beaten By," and the winner of the award, "Up Where We Belong" from An Officer and a Gentleman. Another great song.
Yeah, classics, really. So up against some stiff competition.
Yeah, I was looking.
Did
at
you
the,
know,
Yeah.
Sean?
Mhm.
I didn't know this, that the song was recorded at the request of Sylvester Stallone because Queen denied them permission to use "Another One Bites the Dust."
Yeah, isn't that
That was
great?
what Stallone originally wanted to be the theme for Rocky 3.
Yeah, which I think this is much better than Another One Bites the Dust.
Oh, I agree.
It was number one on the Hot 100 chart for 6 consecutive weeks, and was the number two single of the entire year of 1982 behind Olivia Newton-John's "Physical." It spent 15 consecutive weeks in the top 10, the second longest run of 1982. Highly successful. The band of Survivor won an award for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal at the Grammy Awards. Great
Yeah,
song.
this is awesome.
Fun fact, I was a twerp in school, in high school and middle school when I was a kid. And what I used to do for a couple years is I would do PowerPoint presentations. And for a while, every PowerPoint presentation I would start with "Eye of the Tiger." And I would play it and I would advance the slides during that. Parts would be dun 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 dun, and I would flip through the slides and it would be like dun 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 dun, and it'd be like philosophers of the 18th century. Dun 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 dun. It was, and people hated it. It was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure that you were the bee's knees for doing that,
Very unpopular.
or maybe you thought you were.
But that's the other kind of weird thing about this song is how many times Apollo Creed says "Eye of the Tiger" in the movie, to the point where I was like, did Survivor pay for product placement in this movie for him to say it? Like, he says it an annoyingly weirdly, like, a lot.
Yeah, he does, and I hadn't noticed that until my most recent watch through. I didn't even pick up on the fact that he had said it at all, actually. But yeah, he does say it quite a bit.
He's like, "You got the eye of the tiger. You got the eye of the tiger."
The thing was, I thought he said it once, and then the other times was like Rocky remembering him saying it.
Yep.
But no, it's just he's like a broken record. He just keeps saying it. Like I I was waiting for him to hold up like a Survivor album and say it at the same time. Like
And
like the single. He's got the single in his hand. Like, "Here, Eye of the Tiger, buy it. It's
now
out
available at
on for
Sam
sale
Goody's
now."
and Virgin Records.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about, now for the record, "Eye of the Tiger," great song. But Rocky IV has the best overall soundtrack, including Survivor's "Burning Heart." They came back for the next movie, which was a top 5 single as well. But yeah, great song, great theme song to this film. I did have a kind of a, when I'm watching these movies, I write down notes, and every once in a while I have like just like a super random side note, and I wrote this down. It's music related. At the scene where they unveil the Rocky statue at the museum, I wrote, "Isn't it weird that the marching band was playing Rocky's theme song from the movie?" Like, in the
Yeah,
Rocky
that-
universe,
this-
is that an actual song that, like, Rocky is associated with? Because I thought it was just the theme song to the movie.
I think it's one of those meta like callback things.
It was just one of those things where it's like, but then in Rocky's universe, like, did they make a series of movies about Rocky?
It's a little jarring, I'll admit. It's kind of like if you were watching Indiana Jones, and like Harrison Ford's just like humming the theme song in the
Yes.
cockpit, which yeah, or if like somebody on board when the scene where they go on the blimp, the Zeppelin, if somebody's like humming it off, like it would be really strange. You'd be like, what?
Yeah, you're breaking
I
that
think
fourth
the
wall.
Bond movies have actually done that quite a bit, especially some of the Roger
Oh,
Moore
there
ones. Like,
was there was what was the one with the snake charmer? And the snake charmer plays the Bond theme.
yes, yeah,
Octopussy,
he plays the
maybe?
Bond theme.
I think that might be
I
it.
believe it was Octopus. Yeah,
I'm so bummed I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right.
yes it does. And I think Roger Moore gives him like a hey, good song, or like some sort of God, those movies. Roger
Winks at the
Moore.
camera.
God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah. Oh well. My second favorite part. I mean, I think that really my three favorite parts of the movie are easily the three most iconic parts of the movie. The beginning fight with Thunderlips, the middle or the late stage of the movie where he fights Clubber Lang, and then at the end, another great moment with him and Apollo Creed in the ring. And
Yes.
they're gonna like fight again, and I always think that's a really cool way to end a movie. Uh, to have the two of them in there, and then he's like, "Are we doing this again?" Like Rocky's like, "Yeah, we're doing this."
And and that's kind of what's weird about this movie is that because like and the past Rocky movies have done this. They end in a freeze frame. You know, that's kind of like a signature, happened in a lot of movies around this time. But this movie has like 4 freeze frames in it. Because they freeze frame at the very end. They freeze frame after the Clubber Lang fight. They freeze frame after Rocky's beach training montage. And I think there's one more I'm not thinking of. Like, it's too many freeze frames. Maybe that's just my complaint.
Yeah, they do. That's
But you get one at the
I,
end. Like, that's how you end the movie. Like, you can't do a freeze frame in the middle of the movie and then the movie just continues.
yeah, they were big on the freeze
Mm.
frames. That was just how I think that was just part of the style, but it was also yeah, it was a little unnecessary.
I mean, I think for me, my favorite thing about this film was the montages. I really do because we've seen great Rocky boxing matches before. We've seen some of the a lot of this we've seen before. But God, those montages, and there were so many of them. There were so many montages in this movie, and they were all that sort of like that again, that 1980s muscled up, greased up, short shorts on the beach, and they're running, and they're trained, they're in the gym, and you walk him, and he's crappy at first, and then he gets better, and it's man, I love a good sports montage, and this movie was packed to the gills with it, so that made me happy because that always is fun to watch.
It was definitely a sign of the times. 1982. This is like the height of montage, peak montage.
Well, and this film was very 80s. A lot of big hair. Pro wrestling makes an appearance, which was coming of age at this time. They go to Paulie stumbles into an arcade at one point, and I'm like, this is so with a Rocky pinball machine. I'm like, this is so
Yep.
80s.
Yeah, it only gets more 80s from there.
Well,
I think
that's what.
Rocky 4 is also.
Well, Rocky 4 is arguably pinnacle 80s. Like it is an iconic 80s movie. Um, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Rocky 3, an enormous box office success, surpassed the gross of its predecessor, earned $125 million during its North American theatrical run, the fourth highest grossing film of 1982, with the worldwide box office standings at $270 million. Matt, we've done this before, and I'm going to make you do it again. Rocky 3 was the fourth highest grossing movie of 1982. How many of the other top 10 highest grossing films of 1982 can you name?
I should have practiced for this.
Yeah,
I knew it
you
was
had
coming.
you had to know this was coming. Now, if
Top
you were paying
grossing
attention,
films.
I'll give you a hint. If you were paying attention earlier, I mentioned what songs competed with Eye of the Tiger for the Academy Award.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a good hint. You mentioned
If you were
the
listening to me
song from
talking, which I wouldn't if I were
was
you.
it was it from The Bodyguard?
No,
So I'm gonna say The Body.
Bodyguard is a couple years later. Bodyguard also two songs from Bodyguard nominated for best song, neither one in 1992. So you're about a decade off.
Gosh. Okay. Um, I'm assuming 1982 is probably a big year for a lot of movies. I think did you say Tootsie?
Tootsie, there you go, number two, the second highest
For
grossing movie of the year.
some reason I just remembered that
Yep, and its song was
you
nominated.
mentioned that. But
Um,
other than that, I don't have the foggiest.
I will say, well, here you go. The number one film, by far the number one film, an early blockbuster in the age of blockbusters. Arguably a family film with a director who was moderately famous at the time and would go on to be enormously famous.
80s.
Yeah, early 80s.
This is vintage Spielberg time.
Uh-huh.
Am I on the right track?
Yes.
The Goonies?
He didn't direct The Goonies. He produced The Goonies. And no, it's not The Goonies.
Well, you said
Oh, I didn't.
arguably family friendly. So I think Goonies I would say is arguably family friendly because people don't remember how um
I guess
how
Matt,
inappropriate it is for kids.
I'm going to give you that. This is a family film. It is not arguably. It is a family film.
Okay, Spielberg family. Oh, this wouldn't be E.T., would it?
It would be E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking that had to be the most famous thing Spielberg had done up until that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, the year before, Raiders of the Lost Ark had come out.
Right.
But basically around that same time, yeah, Jaws before it would have been. Oh, and Close Encounters came out in '77. So no, he had a bit of a track record.
We should review E.T.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen
I've
E.T.,
never.
Sean?
Can you believe it? I've never.
Oh.
I wanted to. I mean, seriously, because you at one point I believe pitched a Spielberg bracket, and I would love to just do like
Yeah.
a Spielberg series because I haven't seen a lot of his films.
Sean, we should do it.
This is gonna be really embarrassing, but would you like to know the Steven Spielberg films I have seen? The ones
If you
he
if you can
directed.
count them on one hand, then that's something has to be corrected there.
I don't even need a lot of fingers. Here we go. Films he directed that I've seen. This is the honest to goodness truth in chronological order: Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Terminal,
Oh,
Ready
no.
Ready Player One. End of list.
Sean, what? I didn't even know he directed The Terminal.
And for the record, I like The Terminal. That's a fun. That's a nice
Oh,
little
man.
movie. But yes, that's all of his I've ever seen. It's really, and of course Ready Player One. Yeah, it's very shameful.
We need to have an intervention here. That's
Oh, you
all
know
I'm
what?
gonna
I
say.
did see half of Amistad.
Okay, half of it.
Yeah, the first half where they're on the ship, not the second half where they're in the court. I was supposed to watch it for a school assignment, and I got bored, so I didn't finish it.
Cliff notes.
I mean, it's
time.
not one of his most thrilling films, if I'm being honest.
No, definitely not. That's why you were watching it for a film class.
Let's see here, Matt. The remaining highest-grossing films of 1982, by the way, An Officer and a Gentleman at number 3, Rocky 3 at 4, followed by Porky's, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, 48 Hours,
Khan.
Poltergeist, and Annie rounds it out.
Annie.
And yes.
You know what? I'm
1982
just not
version.
good. I'm not good with dates. I'm not good with remembering dates and putting them to things. So
Oh, I couldn't do it either. I like making you do it. That's
I
the
uh
fun.
I, I have now Googled it. Gandhi came out that year.
Yeah, not a high grosser, but definitely an award pleaser.
Oh, Airplane 2.
Again, not a great movie.
Sophie's Choice, Tron. You ever see
I've
Tron?
never seen Tron.
Very good. I remember that from the Netflix days where you used to order them by mail, which I guess you can still do, but not many people have that anymore. I remember getting it through mail.
I love,
That
for the
one, I remember
record,
Fight Club.
I loved Netflix DVD by mail.
I like that. Yeah, me too. I enjoyed that idea. It was very reminiscent of being in a like a a blockbuster situation where you go and rent a movie and then you're stuck with it, even if you don't like it.
For,
It's
for
like
me,
it's too bad.
for me, it was annoyingly three things. One, there was a span in like the early 2000s where they would put like the craziest stuff out on DVD because it was so cheap. And so there was stuff on Netflix DVD that you like couldn't find online anywhere. And so I liked it for that. I'm a sucker for special features, and DVDs are very easy to make duplicates of. So I would literally just get them in, make a copy, and send it out immediately. I wouldn't even watch it then because then I just have a copy and can watch it later. So
Nuts.
I hope Netflix isn't listening.
See that you could have redeemed yourself for your PowerPoints right there, Sean. Bring in a couple of those bootleg DVDs and sell them to people at school.
Bootleg
All of a
DVDs for
sudden,
everybody.
your rep goes way back to the top,
Yeah, but the issue is
way up.
Matt, if I showed you, so I only copied probably about 30 or 40 films from Netflix DVD like that. If I showed you what those movies were, boy, would you be disappointed in me. Boy, would you be disappointed.
Clearly, they weren't Steven Spielberg movies.
No, it's the most odd collection. Just absolutely bonkers. Movies you're like, oh, that's right. You're like, can I just give you one example? And I just remember this because I'm like, I keep wanting to throw it out, and I don't know why I haven't. Of course, the 2008 Angelina Jolie, James McAvoy, Morgan Freeman vehicle. Stop me when you know what I'm talking about. Wanted. Remember Wanted?
What? Wanted?
Wanted. It was the movie where they would curve the bullets. That's what everyone remembers.
Oh
From that
God,
movie.
yeah.
But it's honestly just a total garbage, like
Yep.
hard to follow, not good movie. And I have a copy of it if you're interested.
I'm not. I'm good, but
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
The bullet curving really. I remember that from the trailers. Sean, I don't think this was a very good time for movies. 2008.
I would say anywhere from like 2000 to 2010 was a bad time. There was a
Very bad
decade
time.
that was bad for movies.
Real bad time for movies.
The,
Yeah.
the other
I don't
day,
think it really gets better until the Avengers.
someone reminded me the other day of the. Are you familiar with the 2006 film American Dreams? Dreams with a Z.
No, it was that. No, I'm thinking of Cradle to the Grave. That's with Ice Cube.
No,
No,
this is
who was?
radically different. Comedy film in which Dennis Quaid plays the president, a very George W. Bush type, who after who they need to get out on a publicity tour to make him seem smart because he's kind of a dumb guy. At the same time, there's an American Idol show called American Dreams with a Z, hosted by Hugh Grant. That show casts Mandy Moore as a contestant. The show gets the president to come on as a guest judge. And there's a Middle Eastern contestant whose relatives get him to wear a bomb in the final episode to kill the president. This is a real movie they actually made.
What's it called?
American
Dreams?
Dreams. Yes. I was reminded of it the other day.
Oh,
It's just that kind of it's that, and it came out in 2006. It's just kind of that era of like, let's just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and none of it did.
yeah. The 2000s were a terrible time for movies. Yep. I'll leave it there. I don't really know. I guess the most redeeming thing I can think of from that little time period was Casino Royale. That was genuinely a
Yep.
really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were some good movies. I can't imagine there were You know, no good movies, right?
Movies from the
I mean, I, I
2000s.
mean, the issue was like that sort of like '03 to '05 was very franchise heavy. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Spider Man. Um,
Pirates of the Caribbean,
yeah, we move into that. Men in Black.
Shrek.
When you look at like '07, uh, yeah, again, the Transformers. I mean that's what made the money. Everything else kind of sucked.
Man, yeah,
Twilight,
this is a good time.
Avatar. Woof.
Rough time for movies, indeed.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of good. You know what? Some of the best Miyazaki movies.
Never seen
Howl's
those.
Moving Castle,
Never seen those.
Spirited Away. That does not surprise
I
me.
hear they're very
If
good.
you haven't seen most of Steven Spielberg movies,
No,
then definitely haven't seen the 2000s movies. We should do an episode on 2000s movies.
I haven't seen any of them.
Just remembering how bad they are.
Oh, like actually like making a list of the worst. That I would definitely
Yes.
be into.
Cool.
Um, Matt, we're just about out of time here on Rocky 3. Before we go, I want to give you, I just thought of this mini challenge here, okay? We can't leave until you can name 5 movies I have seen.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they can't be movies we've talked about on the show before. They have to be
Okay.
honest. So don't say Star Wars because we know I've watched that, or James Bond, or, they've got to be sort of unique guesses.
All right, Sean. Ready for this?
Yes.
Star Trek Into Darkness.
Okay, I saw that with you. That's cheating.
That is not. It wasn't in the rules. Star Trek Into Darkness, Looper,
Okay, so I also saw that
the
with you. We haven't seen 5 movies together. I do know that.
the Eagle. Did you go and see the Eagle with
I
me?
did. That was so bad. You owe me
Yep.
the money for that ticket. That was not a good movie.
That was not a good movie at all.
Can
Okay.
Matt remember all the movies we've seen together?
The Avengers. Did we go see the Avengers?
I'm gonna say maybe. I'll give you that one. That's 4. I should say
Okay.
10. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I can't think of any other movies we've seen together. So
so I've only got one more. That might have been it. I think that might have been the max sum of movies that we've seen. Well, those are the ones we've seen in theaters, but let's see. Can I count G-Force? Can that be one of them?
yes, you can count G-Force. Jesus, I don't know why I do this. That's right. I forgot we saw Looper. What an
Yep.
odd movie.
Yeah, and then that guy went on to make a Star Wars.
That's right, he did. Good for him. And I did actually think about Into Darkness the other day, and I just remember watching because I hadn't seen the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. I hadn't seen anything about Star Trek. It was pretty confusing because obviously that's the one where Khan comes back and the whole
Yeah,
thing, and I felt like I was supposed to know what was going on, and I never did.
yeah, those movies weren't great,
Yeah.
but that was before the days of the Star Wars sequels, and those movies were soul crushing. So
I liked Force Awakens.
there you go, Sean.
Anyway, that's for another day, Matt.
Yeah,
That
Force Awakens
concludes.
wasn't bad.
No, it
Wasn't
was.
bad,
And
but
actually, for the record,
yeah,
I like The Last Jedi as well. Different movie, interesting movie. Is it a great Star Wars movie? I don't know. Is it a good movie? I think it's a good movie.
no.
Rise of Skywalker's
The
terrible.
answer is no, and the answer is it's a terrible movie.
It is not. Come
Bad,
on.
bad
Last
Star
Jedi
Wars
is not.
movie, bad movie,
No, Last Jedi is a good
disappointing
movie.
movie.
Stop that.
Movie that was plagued. It was plagued. The best thing I can say about it is that it was plagued by unfortunate circumstances, and in that regard, I will desperately try to give it the benefit of the doubt for the embarrassing tire fire that it truly was.
Oh my God, stop
But
that. Stop that.
That is a conversation for another day.
We did a whole
But
episode
we
on The
have to
Last
give a
Jedi.
ranking.
Oh, that's right.
We
Yes.
got to do a whole
Yes, we have to see
our system. What did we say?
how many
How many
rounds.
rounds?
Yes, out of 15 rounds, how many rounds did Rocky 3 go?
Well, if going the distance was, I always forget this, 13 rounds,
15.
14. How long is that?
15.
15 rounds is going the distance. Um, I'll say Rocky 3 nearly goes the distance. It just gets knocked out in the 14th round by Paulie's abrupt and misplaced racism. 14 out of 15 rounds.
All right. It's when I think about what this scale measures, for me it measures how good of a Rocky film is it. It's not how good of a film is it overall compared to all other movies. To me, it's how good of a Rocky film it is. And to me, this is a really fantastic Rocky movie. I'm going to say it went the full 15 rounds.
Nice.
I'm going to say, here we go. I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to say it went the full 15 rounds, but lost in a split decision.
Wow.
So really, the only way to beat it would be to win in a split decision or win in a unanimous decision. So I'm going to say it went all 15. It survived. It went the distance, but it lost in a split decision.
It's weird because I can't think of any other movies like third in the franchise that are this good.
Spider-Man 3?
Usually for me it's the second. No, definitely not Spider-Man 3. Definitely not Spider-Man 3.
It's funny, I can only think of bad examples.
Usually the second one is the one that usually gets me. The sequel is usually my favorite. Like Dark Knight, Empire Strikes Back, Temple of Doom. Yeah. Well, that's the bad example.
Right.
Oh, maybe there's your example there. I'm very partial to The Last Crusade. That's the third in the indie franchise.
Toy Story 3 is very good.
Toy Story 3 is very good. Yeah,
Mission Impossible
not my
3
favorite,
is pretty good.
It's very good. Yeah, I prefer 2 though.
I would say Last Crusade is a fine movie.
Yes, I would say those are your examples there, and Rocky 3.
Do you consider Captain America: Civil War to be Captain America 3?
No, that gets weird.
It's really
it was the third.
Movie.
Yeah, and I definitely prefer Winter Soldier.
I'm trying to think of other good examples.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with Toy Story.
X-Men 3 is terrible. Batman Forever is terrible. Huh.
Pirates 3 was awful.
Goldfinger, if you consider that the third James Bond film, which it is, that's a great movie.
Yeah, Goldfinger's one of the best.
I mean, they're not really sequential.
I think this is where some franchises either really hit their stride or it's where they start to peter out and run out of ideas.
Oh, God, Men in Black 3?
Maybe it really is a take it or leave it. Men in Black 3.
That's, oof. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example of the latter right there.
Cars 3? I can go all day with this, so I should probably stop. Matt, Die Hard 3? Yeah, okay. Samuel L. Jackson.
Surprised you didn't mention Lion King 3.
Was there a Lion King 3?
I don't think so. I hope to God there wasn't.
Well, the funny thing is, there was Lion King, there was Lion King 2, and then there was Lion King 1.5. But I don't know if they ever actually made Lion King 3.
I really hope. Like I said, I really hope that they did not. Yeah, would have to be.
All those Disney one-off
locked
sequels.
Away in the Disney vault.
Like, yes, permanently. We can hope. Lion King franchise. No, there wasn't. Okay, anyhow, Matt, that is it for our look here at Rocky 3. We're going to be back next week with, unsurprisingly, 1985's Rocky 4, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be a great movie. Probably the peak of this series. And then it's going to be all downhill from there.
Just remember, Sean, if I can change, you can change, then we could all change.
Wow. What's I
That's a
should get
quote coming up from Rocky 4.
I should get that on a coffee mug or something. That's really great. And Matt, my quote to you: I pity the fool. That's going to end it here. Of course, go to our website, upfordebate.tv. If you missed any of the previous Rocky movie episodes, you probably have no idea what we're talking about. So go listen to those and you'll get caught up. Of course, you can subscribe wherever we get podcasts, on any of the major podcast listening platforms. We're there. You can get a hold of us at UpForDebateTV on Twitter or email us at upfordebatetv@gmail.com. That's going to do it here. So on behalf of Matt, I'm Sean. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another Rocky film here on Up for Debate.